You've just tuned in to the nexus of inspiring, encouraging, and uplifting leaders who share their successes and their failures. Insights that will motivate, cultivate, educate, and illuminate your path to a very bright future. Welcome to Shaping the Future podcast. Here's your host, Gregg Kell.
Hello, Future Shapers, and welcome to the next episode of Shaping the Future podcast. Today, we will meet Shawn Burch, the owner of STB Landscape Architects in Redlands, California. Shawn, good day to you.
Good day to you, Gregg.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Well, most importantly, right now I'm married to my best friend, and she's a key supporter of my career and the best, my best critic, I guess I would say. She's the toughest critic that I have, but she's been my biggest supporter and very helpful in keeping me grounded when things are doing really good and boosting me up when things are going sideways.
And what's your wife's name?
My wife's name is Pam.
Thank you, Pam, for keeping Shawn in place. Excellent. So, Shawn, tell us, tell the Future Shapers audience about your professional background.
Well, I have a very unique beginning in my career as a landscape architect. I have always been interested in plants since I was a kid. I've always played around with them, doing cuttings and things like that, pulling the poison ivy out of my backyard when I was back east, and I've got the scars on my forehead to prove it. But when I was 15, my parents purchased a new home and were trying to get it landscaped. After several unsuccessful tries with a landscape contractor, I put a very crude design together. Remember, I was 15, and a contractor came in and saw it, and he hired me to be his designer. And here I was at 15 years old, designing custom residential projects and getting paid for something that was fun. Of course, I then started taking college classes. I've worked at a contractor. I've worked in a nursery. I've worked for a local city and started my own firm in 1986. Here I am over 45 years later and still getting paid for having fun.
45 years, that's outstanding. It seems to me that landscape architecture, that's in your genes. That's who you are.
Exactly. That is what I tell everybody. You can go to school and learn it, but the artistry of it, it's really inbred. My mom was an artist, my grandmother was an artist, and I am also a professional artist here in Redlands. I have a studio.
Excellent. Shawn, the Future Shapers audience is passionate about entrepreneurship and innovation. We believe that generates higher productivity, profits, and growth. Tell me, Shawn, what are you most passionate about today?
Well, that's a multi-pronged question. First, you do need a passion for what you work with. If you get in it just to make money, you'll really never be truly satisfied emotionally. Money's great and can buy a lot of things, but it really can't buy what's important. For innovation, you do need to keep up there with the latest trends in your chosen fields. What new software is out there, what new systems have been created that it could help, what your competition is doing that you could do better. You also need to study things outside but related to your profession that might help round out your knowledge base. For example, I'm constantly studying architecture, interior decorating, engineering, art, and structural journals. I think if I can keep up with all of this, which is overwhelming at times, the increased productivity and profits just follow along.
Things just roll if you operate consistent with what your belief system, with who you are, and you keep seeking to improve. That's great. But unfortunately, sometimes things don't turn out the way that we want them to. Sometimes life throws us a curveball. Would you share with the Future Shapers listening today a brief story about your worst experience as the leader of STB Landscape Architecture?
Well, I think it was trying to get through the recession in 1990. I had just staffed up my firm and relocated to a really fancy office with, of course, fancy rents that went along with it. When we moved in, we had over 100 projects on the board. Within a month's time, we had less than, I would say, 10 projects left. I kept the staff on as long as I could, paying salaries out of my savings. Eventually, we moved out of the office and we're down to 2 people in the new office. Since we were tied to a long-term lease, we actually had to work off our lease obligations by trading our services to our landlord. It was a very humbling experience, but it taught me some great lessons about putting all your eggs in one basket and diversifying more.
So tell me about those lessons in practice. I understand eggs in one basket, and I understand diversification. Tell me what that means to you.
Well, the diversification was important because at that time, most of our clients were home builders. And when the recession hit, they disappeared. And of course, all of our signed contracts were worthless. They didn't need them anymore.
Yes. So when you think you have something, even if it's on paper, a signature, sometimes it's not what you think.
Yes, that's correct. Until you have the check in your bank account, it really isn't safe to think you've got that project or that you're safe with it.
But you were able to work through that adverse economic situation, Shawn. And how did that experience help you to become the success that you are today?
Well, I decided at that time that I was going to keep my staff small and vary the types of projects we take on. We now work on a mixture of large commercial projects, sports fields, city beautification, industrial, and high-end residentials. Not only does this make it safer, but allows me to go back to being the artistic driver for the company and not just a manager. In the old days, I would have to come in 5 a.m. and sketch out work for my employees that they could be doing what I really wanted to be doing. And then I'd be sitting there doing administrative things all day and hustling to find new projects. That's really not what I got in this for.
You're an artistic driver. I like that acronym. That sounds good. I've not heard that before. Artistic driver. I like that.
That goes back to what I'm passionate about now, and that is my art and doing paintings and selling them and showing them and incorporating my artistic talents not only on a canvas, but onto the earth itself. That is my driving force right now.
Excellent. So here we are in the early stages of 2018. When you look forward into 2018, what is your most important business goal at this time?
Business goal is keep doing what I'm doing and enjoy what I'm doing. And if you ask me what the biggest challenges are, that's a different scenario.
Well, let's jump ahead. Let's hear those challenges. Tell me all about it.
Well, the biggest problem right now, I think the business climate in the state is becoming hostile to small businesses. We're expected to cover the costs of all the various social programs that are being implemented. The regulations and new laws are almost impossible to keep up with. If you speak with any architect or engineer, they will echo the same sentiments. If there is some frivolous lawsuit in California, I guarantee that there will be a new law to cover that in going forward. So you really can't know what you're doing because they keep changing the game on us.
I understand that let's call it the political and judicial landscape is almost tilted against the small business owner in California at this time. I understand that. And I think that circumstance is sort of outside of our control. We can't control that. Within your business, what are some of the biggest challenges that you face that are more within your control?
That's a tough question.
Some business owners are looking forward to their biggest challenge is finding new customers or dealing with the employees that they have. Some of them are looking forward and saying, oh, our competition is tougher. Different businesses have different challenges. Maybe you're blessed. Maybe you are just rolling as a artistic driver of landscape architecture excellence, and you don't have those types of challenges. Tell me.
Well, we all have the usual challenges, but I do feel that my company has kind of hit a sweet spot where I don't have to hustle for work anymore. I can be a little more selective in my clients, and honestly, that comes from 45 years of working diligently to satisfy the clients that we have and do what we say we're going to do when we do it.
Excellent. So 45 years, that is a excellent tenure. You've been around a while. We're going to step into the Wayback Machine. We're going to go back 45 years, all the way back. Think about that time when you were considering starting your own business. What concerns did you have, or what was holding you back at that time?
That's another interesting question.
I know 45 years is a long, long, long time ago, and maybe that's not relevant for today. But let me ask you this. Make it real simple. Why did you form STB Landscape Architecture?
Wasn't my intention, honestly. I was working for a city and had been doing this on the side. And I guess when one door closes, another opens. I injured my back and couldn't work for them anymore. And at that time, I went and got my license. While I was laid flat on my back, I studied for the test and managed to take the test and passed it. And then I determined that I could not go back to the city. So I called up some developers that I'd been working with as a city inspector, called them up, said, hey, I'm on my own. They hired me, and here we are that many years later. I'm still going.
That is an excellent story. What I hear is that the seeds of greatness for STB Landscape Architecture was planted in an injury in the past. You used the downtime of that injury to get licensing and to proceed.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah, I cashed in my retirement funds and remodeled the house at the time and built a little office in there, and here we are.
Well, you have a very nice office. I'm quite impressed. Tell me, Shawn, at this time, certainly things have changed over 45 years, but given today, tell me about the ideal profile of the right client for you.
I think that would be one that gives me the freedom to be creative without any constraints and trusting my vision for their project. That doesn't mean having a bunch of money, but allowing me the artistic creativity without standing over my shoulder, suggesting different directions to go.
It's interesting. How as an entrepreneur and business owner, frequently they depend on advice from other people. They listen to other people. They receive advice that means something to them. What is the best advice that you have ever received?
Well, there was a good friend of mine that owned a nursery many, many years ago. And he once told me that friends are to use, not abuse. Now, I didn't quite understand it right at that moment, but as I got more mature, it kind of stuck with me, and it's so simple and brilliant. I cherish the friendships that I have developed over the years and know that if I don't have an answer to something or need some type of assistance, I can go to them for advice. And they also know that I will return the favor when asked. I think keeping that core group of people that you can get feedback from is critical to any business or actually any way to live. That's the way you need to be.
Listening to others, learning from them, and applying it in a way that adds value to other people. Yeah. Fair assessment?
That's a good assessment. Every day I learn how much I don't know.
A value bomb dropped by Shawn Burch. He learns, as we all should, all the things we don't know.
That's correct. People call me an expert in my field, but I can't say I feel that way because I know how much I don't know.
We in the Future Shapers audience are big believers in learning, reading, and continual improvement. Is there a book that you might recommend to the Future Shapers audience, Shawn, and why?
I honestly can't say that there is one book. I am a voracious reader, but I can't point out any particular book. I basically am self-taught, and there are hundreds of books that I read.
Fair enough. We in the Future Shapers understand that simple actions and habits over time work together to create a very vibrant future. What are you doing now, Shawn, to shape your business or professional future?
Well, this is another one of your multi-pronged questions. The simple action of a strong ethic is critical to not only a successful business, but also a successful life. That means doing what you say you're going to do, when you say you're going to do it, and doing that thing to the best of your ability. Sounds pretty simple, and it should be easy for everybody, but I don't experience that.
Not always.
If you're going to flip hamburgers, do it with gusto. If you're going to dig a ditch, put your back into it. There is nothing better than following the golden rule. My future is shaped by my strong work ethic. I am in the office by 6 every day and leave after 5:30. My clients all know that I will answer emails and phone calls promptly, and they also know that I'm extremely passionate about my work and will give them my all, and my future is basically shaped by my past experiences and endeavors. I can't say much more than that's about all you need to do to keep your business going.
Fair enough. We at the Shaping the Future group believe that our nation, America, is at a tipping point right now. Could go either direction. We're not sure. But tell me, Shawn, what is America to you?
Okay, I'm a landscape architect, not a politician. I'm not someone that can espouse on this stuff, but I slightly disagree with you because I think America's already tipped. It's not at a tipping point, it has tipped. Mm-hmm. We've seemed to have lost our direction, our values, and our ethics. Foremost, the politicians are all lined up on either side of an aisle, pointing fingers at each other while advancing their positions, while what happens to we, the people, are not even being considered. America was once great, but I can't ever see it returning to its glory. The system is really broken down. And secondly, there are also the racial and social issues that must be considered. We really are created equal. And until we realize this, not only in our minds, but in our hearts, we will not succeed. It seems that everywhere you look, someone's got a chip on their shoulder, and they're looking for something that offends them so they can protest about it. There's people on every corner looking for something to get ticked off about, and it doesn't make sense. This is not just an American issue, it's worldwide. We need to think beyond our borders and encompass the entire planet. A great man once said, the earth is but one country and mankind its citizens. The only race that really matters is a human race. Why are we still fighting each other?
Another value bomb dropped by Shawn Burch. Listen, Future Shapers audience, Shawn has some excellent insight in terms of our background, where we as a nation are now, where he is as a business owner now. We would like to know, Shawn, is there any advice you might share with the Future Shapers audience today?
Well, actually, it's fairly simple. Do what you do the best that you can. Admit when you've made a mistake. Fix it quickly. And remember that error so you don't make it again. And never forget the golden rule. It truly is golden.
Seems to me I heard that before, Shawn. Somewhere around kindergarten here.
Yeah.
That is fundamental understanding of how to live a consistent, a considerate, and a value-added life. Another value bomb dropped by Shawn.
That goes back to one of the books that should be read is everything I learned or need to know I learned in kindergarten.
There you go. I love kindergarten. It was my favorite class. I loved it so much I repeated it 3 times. Oh, okay. Maybe not. So tell the Future Shapers audience, Shawn, how the listeners can contact or get in contact with you and what they might receive when they do so.
Well, they can get a hold of us on the web. We have a nice website. We have a nice web presence on the house program. We're in downtown Redlands, right next to City Hall, and available for anybody to call and talk about their projects.
Excellent. Thank you, Shawn, for sharing your insights and the knowledge that you have learned over 45 years and even before with the foundation of the kindergarten understanding. Keep it simple, keep it strong. Thank you, Future Shapers audience, for today's update, and be prepared for the next. It's coming right around the corner.
Thank you for joining this episode of Shaping the Future podcast. We leave you, Future Shapers, with this challenge. Act boldly today to shape your future, because if you don't, it will absolutely be shaped for you.